Hello, it's me, and I actually have two goals with this video. The first is, of course, to demonstrate this really great puzzle called the Rex Rhombic Dodecahedron, designed by William Kretschmer, I believe his name is, the Rex Rhombic Dodecahedron. So in addition to demonstrating this puzzle, what I also wanted to do was answer a question, which is how to come up with algorithms, how to come up with commutators to solve this. So I figure here's a puzzle that you probably haven't seen solved or anything quite like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through my general approach to solving a puzzle like this and why this is actually a puzzle that's worth doing. Well, in terms of coming up with an algorithm, what I'm going to do is see if I can't come up with algorithms to move these all around. Now you may think, well, I don't have this puzzle, this is a rare puzzle, so how's this going to help me with the particular puzzle that I have? And the answer is because, well, the approach is exactly the same. I can apply it to whichever puzzle that's there, or whichever puzzle that you have. So I welcome you to use exactly the same concepts as we get into solving 101, or advanced solving. Anyway, so in terms of what to do about a puzzle like this, first it's necessary to characterize what kind of a puzzle it is. Well, it's got all of the cuts that remind us of this guy over here, which is the Rex cube. And the fact that it's called a Rex Rhombic Dodecahedron leads you to believe that, well, maybe it's the same kind of a thing. But in reality, it really isn't. This is really just a corner turner with deeper cuts. It's like the Dino cube, only instead of just turning about here, you cut deeper into it, making these pedals over here. This is actually a hybrid, and a hybrid, as you recall, is one of the classifications of something that you do to a puzzle to make it harder. Among the harder puzzles, I believe, are those that are hybrids because you're combining two types of moves together. So they're full hybrids, not just a sequential solve where it's a puzzle within a puzzle, it's two exactly at the same time. So what is this a hybrid of? Well, we've got these turns over here along this long axis, and we've got these turns over here along this short axis. So along the long axis I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. So in that way it shares the geometry or the axis of a face-turning hexahedron, or basically a cube. A hexahedron, six-sided puzzle, so face-turning just like this. And it has a lot of homologies to that. So if I turn this over here, this is like an up move, this is a front move, this is a right move, and this is a left move. So really, if I wanted to, I could just scramble it and solve it as a 3x3, where I've got centers, edges, and corners. So what homologies do I have with this and a simple 3x3? Well, if I turn this, and then I turn this, we can see that we're overlapping with this piece over here. So if I go turn, 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 you can see that I've taken these pieces and I've kind of jostled them around. That's like me going like turn, 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 turn. So which pieces moved around? Well, you can see that the edges moved and the corners moved. Turn, turn, turn. Really what this represents is a 3x3 that has no corners. Because if this is a side and this is a side, then that would mean all of these together, these areas here, minus these pedals here, this all represents a center. So this center is like this center, which means it's like the center of a 3x3 supercube. This collectively, this pedal here, both of these three pieces together represent really just an edge. Joining this center with this center is this piece over here, which is an edge, and no corners. Now when you hybridize something, you tend to increase not just the hardness, but also the complexity. Hybrids are among the hardest puzzles. They're also among the most complex puzzles as well. So basically solving this and scrambling this is just like scrambling an edges-only Rubik's supercube. Well, edges and center only Rubik's supercube. That's what this is like without any corners. What's more, you've got equivalency of these edges because they can be flipped and rotated. So in that way, what I could do is just do a simple scramble of this and solve it just like a 3x3. But kind of a simple 3x3. Nothing too special about that. So what I would normally do is I would then take this puzzle, scramble it as a 3x3, and then solve it as a 3x3. Now what about these moves over here? So how many axes do I have with this? Well, I found that I had 6, so this is a face-turning hexahedron, or basically like a 3x3. Now these moves here, how many axes do we have? Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 axes, which correlates with corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And actually that's where we're looking at. So if this is the up move, this is the F move, and these are centers, and this is the edge, then this over here, buried underneath here that you can't see, must be a corner. Which means this becomes a corner turner. So these are dino cubes. So it shares that. So this is not only a face turning hexahedron, but also a corner turning hexahedron, or a 3x3 dino cube hybrid. So it's a hybrid between those. So basically it's a cross between these two puzzles. Face turning and corner turning. So as a matter of fact, if I were just to scramble it, not do these moves, but just do these moves, then basically what I would have is I would just have a dino cube, and I would solve it exactly as that. Now you may say, well, no, not really a dino cube, right? I'd have a Rex cube, because we have these pedals over here. But I'm not really so sure of that, because notice when I turn a dino cube, all these pieces are free to move. Up, up, down, down. So these pieces were free to move up, up, down, down. However, over here, if you notice, the only pieces that are scrambling are these pieces, these pedals over here. This collectively here, including these areas of the pedals, don't scramble. So as I turn this, if I were to scramble this, doing only corner turns, pop this in here correctly, only corner turns, these are like trivial tips. They don't really scramble. I can turn this here, then I can turn this here, but notice these guys never scramble with each other. The only thing that's moving around are these areas over here, which means it's actually not like a Rex puzzle at all as a hybrid. It's really more just like a dino cube, but not a dino cube with deep cuts, creating these pedals where I scramble these guys in addition to the pedals. I scramble these guys. If I make this move and this move, I've now separated this part out, but I never separate these guys out. I could turn this here and turn this here, but this stays in the same configuration. So what that means is that this isn't really like a Rex cube at all. It's really like a dino. But notice that when I turn this, there's a centerpiece here. There's an area deep underneath that always just spins but never scrambles. So this piece over here, this little triangle here, which actually exists, just spins about its axis but doesn't scramble. What scrambles are these guys, which means when I turn this, what it's like is that they took this piece here and they brought it out to the surface, leaving these to just continue to scramble with each other, but keeping these trivial areas just to spin. Well, so too what this did is this brought that out, and now these guys here, 1, 2, 3, are just like these guys here, 1, 2, 3. And they scramble just like them as well. So the solve of this is just like doing a dino cube with centers. We have a word for that kind of a puzzle where you have like little central areas of the edge that just kind of turn about its axis. We call them a compi cube. So what a compi cube is it's a dino, but where this core has been brought to the surface. And when the core is brought to the surface, these pedals are still free to scramble amongst themselves, but the cores just rotate around there. So it somehow kind of coordinates where these pedals are supposed to be. So that's more like a compi cube. So this is really more a combination of a compi cube, where this whole thing collectively represents a core brought out, though it's not really a core, but it functions the same way. And these are just the pedals, the corners of the dino portion of it. So this Rex Rhombic Dodecahedron is actually a combination, a hybrid of a cornerless super 3x3 and a compi cube. Well, not this, a compi cube. So rather than being a combination of this or of this, it's really a compi cube and a cornerless 3x3. So if I were to scramble it, and this is the fun thing about a hybrid, is you're free to scramble it as a compi cube and solve it as such. You just have to, bring these guys in line. So each individual solve is not very difficult. However, when you start combining moves together, like we do a compi turn or dino turn, however you want to call it, and then we do a 3x3 turn, you start to separate these pedals out. And when that happens, it can make for a much more challenging solve. So the question is, when I scramble it, do I reduce it to a 3x3 and solve it as a 3x3? Do I reduce it to a CompuCube and solve it as such? Or do I just forget about it being one versus the other and just solve it as such intuitively with an occasional algorithm? So now that I've identified the type of puzzle that it is, now a question is, how would I approach by being able to fall back on algorithms in order to move these guys around? Well, the whole concept of an algorithm is to start off by doing a commutator. A commutator are a series of moves and undo of the move. So you do a move and then you do the reverse of the move to undo it, like R, U, R, I, U, I, X, Y, X prime, Y prime. When you've done that, you take a look at the puzzle and you see what pieces have changed and what pieces have not changed. You then do a middle move, and that middle move is like another kind of a commutator that isolates one of the pieces that the first commutator isolated. You then do another move to exchange it with another piece, and then you redo the entire commutator. So if you're going to do R, U, R, I, U, I, let's say I'll make this my R, so I'm going to combine a compy move with, I'll just say a corner turning move with a face turning move, this and this. So let's say I do R, and then this will be U, R, I, U, I. Now the good news about that is that that's easy to remember. Then I just reverse it, U, R, U, I, R, I. So that might not seem like a very profound thing because it got me right back where I started from, but it's easy to remember. So you start off with some kind of a commutator, and it doesn't really matter. It could have been U, R, U, I, R, I, but if you do that, then you end up with a configuration where you can try to isolate one piece. So take your puzzle, whatever it might be, and just think of a commutator. In this case, I'm going to combine two moves together, R, U, R, I, U, I. Now let's kind of take a look at the puzzle and see what's changed. Now most of the pieces are the same. What's also the same is all of these are the same. These are the same. What's changed are these guys, and these guys. What changed are these guys, and these guys. So RU, RIU, I did that. Now I'm going to look for a piece that I can isolate. Now I see that this came back exactly the way it was. So when I undo the move, this will come back exactly the way it is right now as well. So I'm going to try to isolate maybe one of these pieces. Let's see if we can isolate this. If I move this guy down here, now by moving this move here, I can isolate the centerpiece. The centerpiece gets isolated. Now you can see I'm moving this piece as well, but I don't really care about that because in my commutator, these didn't get moved. When I reverse the commutator, what's here is going to stay exactly where it is. It didn't get changed. So when I move this down here, I'm going to do another commutator to move this down. Then I'm going to take this and replace it with, say, this guy over here. So I'm going to move this across, and I'm going to move this back up. Now notice what I did is I just did another commutator. This moved down, across, and up. So it's like a three move kind of a thing. Down, across, and up. So I've now replaced it with that. Now if I reverse the original commutator, reverse that, what that's going to do is that's going to bring everything back. This is not going to change. Because I know that these guys are not going to change, I can reverse what I just did, the middle move, and I'll just have one thing that's been affected, which is the center. But this pedal, this should not change. It's hidden within the move that I just did. So let's reverse the commutator. We'll go U, R, U, I, R, I. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse what I did here because none of these guys should not have changed at all with this commutator that I did. So then I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to go up. So this was brought back exactly the way that we saw, and you can see that I just did a 3 cycle of these centers. So that's great. Now I have a way of moving these 3 centers around should I need to. This went to here, this went to here, and this went to here. So that's a quick way of designing a commutator that just isolates these pieces. It isolates these pieces because every other piece was accounted for within the commutator. So let's do it again, and predictably this will go here, this will go here, and this will go here. So something simple, same one, R, U, R, I, U, I. Okay? So this was not affected by this commutator, so I'm going to do another commutator which will move this. It'll move this too, but that's going to be moved back because this commutator did not affect these. So this will go down, across, up. So this looks different, but that's okay. The algorithm that I'm about to do will not touch these guys, so I'll be able to move it back once I reverse the middle move, so to speak. Now reverse this one, U, R, UI, RI. Now we reverse this to bring these guys back. This goes down, back, and up. So yeah, we did our 3 cycle here again. So one more time should bring it up. And I always like to bring it back to beginning, do all the way through so that I can remember what I did. It kind of puts it into muscle memory pretty quickly. R, U, RI, UI, then down, across, up, U, R, UI, RI, down, back, up. Okay, so we've designed a 3 cycle for these. And again, the whole concept with this is we started off with an original commutator, which is just 2 moves and an undoing of those moves. We found out which piece we can isolate, which pieces were not affected at all, bring it down, isolate it, exchange it with something else, and bring it back up again. We then reverse the commutator, which will only change this guy, but not these guys. The only change was this guy, and here. And then we reverse that middle move so that we can bring these guys back. Okay, so that's all fine and well. But now let's say I want to figure out how to move maybe these guys or these guys over here. It might not be enough to be able to move these middle ones around, but at least I know that no matter how I mix up the puzzle, I can move these guys around and not worry about them if my intuition has failed me or I end up with parity or something like that. So let's see what we can do starting off with the same concept. So we're going to do R, U, RI, UI. Same as we were before. Now what I'd like to do is let's see if we can isolate these pedals. What can I do to isolate these pedals? Well, I'm not going to worry about the centers because whatever I design now, if it affects the centers and the pedals, we don't care about the centers. I just care about the pedals. Because if we end up affecting both, I have another algorithm that can move the centers back in. So I'm not going to care about that. So what can isolate the pedals? Well, none of these guys changed, but this one did. Can I isolate this somehow? Well, if I move this down here, then this pedal is now isolated. Forget about the center. This pedal is isolated. And if I move this across, this moves, this also moves, but we don't care about that because this wasn't affected by the algorithm. And with this middle move, even if I move this out of the way, this is going to be affected and be brought back when I finish the first commutator. This one will not. It's going to be brought back by reversing the middle move, if that makes any sense. So I did the first commutator, U, R, UI, RI, same kind of thing. And now what I'm going to do is instead of moving this down to isolate this guy, these don't count because they're not affected by the original one and they'll be brought back when I reverse the middle move. I'm going to move it down from here so that the only pedal that's affected is this, and I don't worry about the center. So I'm going to move this down, I'm going to replace it with this, across, so they're 2 3x3 moves now, and up. Now by reversing it, what's going to be affected is this is going to be affected, and this is going to be affected. These guys are not, these guys are not, and they're going to be brought back by reversing the middle move because they were taken out by the middle move, but this will come right back to its conformation when I reverse the original commutator. But these guys won't. Yeah, so then let's reverse it. U, R, UI, a little catchy. RI, and now let's reverse this, and we'll go down, now back, and up. Okay, and as predicted, these centers were affected, but we don't care about those. All we care about is the fact that we did a 3 cycle of these pedals. So this purple one went to here, this white one went to here, and this brown one went to here. I don't know if you can see the brown and purple. Maybe that wasn't too smart to use colors so close together, but anyway, that's what happened. And I don't worry about these because I can move these guys separately. I have another algorithm that can move these. I can put these here and start to 3 cycle these. So let's go through that again so I can put this into muscle memory. Once again, R, U, R, I, U, I. Okay, I want to affect this, well rather, I want to affect this pedal over here. So I'm going to bring this, and these will all come out the same. So bring this down, now across and up, and now reverse the original algorithm, U, R, UI, RI, and now reverse the middle move, which is down, back, and up. So once again, these three pedals are three cycling. And that's all based on isolating it. So once again, I know that by doing the first commutator, I'll isolate these areas here. And by doing a middle move, I'll isolate these two while these are going to be brought back. So R, U, RI, UI. So these are all going to be the same. So now I'm going to do a three cycle. So I'm going to do another commutator, bring this down, across and up. Now reverse it, U, R, UI, RI, down, back, and up. Alright, so now by doing very similar commutators, I'm able to three cycle purely these centers. By changing that a little bit and isolating other pedals, I'm able to put this to here, and this to here. A left-sided version, using this instead, and this as an R, will cycle this to here, this to here, and this to here. So I can do a left-sided version and a right-sided version. So that's pretty good. Then that means all I have to do is get these guys in, and I can three cycle these guys around, and these guys around. But let's say I wanted to, if I was in a pinch and I end up with a parity situation, and I'm kind of at a loss, maybe I do want to design a three cycle for these large pedals over here. So let's do the same thing. We'll start off with the same commutator, R, U, RI, UI. And now let's take a look. I want to isolate this. I don't care about this, I've got something, and I don't care about these guys. When I brought this down to here, I'm isolating this pedal. This is the only one that was affected by the original commutator. So what can I do to isolate this? Well, if I brought this down, then I isolated the center. Everything else wasn't going to be affected by the original commutator. Now what if I bring it down the opposite way, bring it down over here? Well, now this is affected if I do this move. The others, we don't really care because it's going to come right back where it started from. So now if I bring this down and now turn it over here, so if instead of bringing it this way, which isolates the center, let's bring it this way, which isolates the center and a pedal that was affected by the original algorithm. When I brought this here, it affected a center and this pedal was here, but this was not affected by the original algorithm, so it was not going to three cycle. It would have been brought into the same configuration. So that's what I mean by isolating this. The middle move has to isolate what you want to three cycle. So I'm going to bring this down over here. I can go this way. I can go this way. So let's go this way, which affected this, and now bring it back up. So now I'm going to undo the first commutator to kind of bring things back, and then I'm going to undo the middle move. So that's going to be U, R, UI, RI. And now once again bring this down, and because we came this way, we're going to go this way, across, and up. And let's see what we did. Well, lo and behold, this went to here, this went to here, this went to here. And again, we don't really care about these centers. I've already designed an algorithm for that. So now I've got a way of three cycling these guys. So now I have a way of moving every one of these pieces all around with similar types of algorithms that I can easily visualize. And an algorithm is a long stretch of commutators. Most of them are three sets of commutators. An original one, which are two moves and undoing of those two moves, a middle move commutator, and then the reversal of the original commutator, and then a reversal of the middle move. So let's go ahead and continue this to put this into muscle memory. R, U, RI, UI. Now this comes down here, down, back, and up. Now reverse it to get these guys back. U, R, UI, RI, down, across, and up. And lo and behold, we're still three cycling these around. One more time we'll do it. R, U, Ri, Ui, down, back, up, U, R, Ui, Ri, down, across, and up. And it's done. So that's how you design an algorithm, and now the scramble of this puzzle is really just a formality, because you can go through the process of solving it, that you can try it intuitively, have some fun with that, but when you run into trouble, you've designed algorithms based upon commutators, based on doing a move, reversing the move, doing a middle move that isolates a piece, and then reversing the algorithm and reversing the original commutator and reversing the middle move, so that you can get your way through it. So it's one thing to be theoretical about it, it's another thing to go ahead and scramble it and see what kind of issues might occur with that. Because then you have to do setups in order to put them in the proper position. This goes to here, 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 and this goes to here. So then you don't have to worry about it. And that's how you design commutators.